Great, thanks. Welcome everyone to the Town of Greater Napanee regular session of council for the 9th day of September 2025. Just before we call the meeting in order, I just want to remind the folks that are here in the council chambers, the folks that are home, that this evening's meeting is going to be live streamed via our YouTube channel. And welcome to the folks that are here, welcome to the folks that are at home, and welcome to the folks that will watch us tomorrow or the next day or the day after. So we'll get, without any further ado, we'll get going here and we'll start, we'll call the meeting to order and we'll get started with our opening proceedings, which is our national anthem. So I'll ask those that are able to stand, face the flag, and we'll play the national anthem. Thanks, folks. We'll start this evening's meeting off with our closed session rise and report, which we had earlier this evening. So we'll look for a motion to rise and report from closed session. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Shank. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. I'd like to report that in closed session this evening, Council approved the closed session minutes of August 26th and 27th, 2025, reviewed applicants for the Community Initiatives Fund Advisory Committee, received information regarding a matter of solicitor-client privilege, received information regarding the security of municipal property and gave direction to staff, received a litigation update and gave direction to staff, and received information regarding a labor relations matter and gave direction to staff. So I'll also look for another motion that for this evening that we appoint the following members to the Community Initiative Fund Advisory Committee. Those members are Kelly McRobert, Caitlin Creasy, Rennie Hutzler, Jocelyn Hughes, and Brandon Brown. We need to move our second or moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. We'll now look for adoption of the agenda as presented. Moved by Deputy Mayor Calver, seconded by Councillor Martin. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none. Presentations. I don't believe we have any presentations this evening, Madam Clerk. We do have a deputation from Boralex IESO proposal. I believe we have a number of people here this evening. Shelby Dockendorf, Marnie Dawson, Brandy Gianetta, and Nick Petrakis, who is going to join us by Zoom, I believe. So come on up, folks. And I know that you've been here before, but we'll give you the Reader's Digest version as to how we're going to we do this. And welcome. And welcome to, I believe it was Nick that's going to come in by via Zoom, I think, Shannon, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Hi, Council. Yeah, yes, I'm here joining remotely.
Great. Thank you, sir. as you can see, there's microphones in front of you. There's a button on the right-hand side that says talk. You have to, when you push that button, you have to hold it down. So if you don't hold it down, the folks at home can't hear. We can hear you fine, but the folks at home can't hear, and then I get yelled at. I know I'm getting used to it, but it doesn't make it any easier. So welcome, folks. And Marnie, are you going to start, or is Nick, or this young lady here?
I'm going to start.
Great. Whenever they're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, staff. Appreciate you taking the time tonight to have us come back and explain our project again. Really, we have this presentation. You've been provided the presentation. I'm not going to bother going through it slide by slide. If you want me to, I can touch on any single one of the slides. But really, I kind of just wanted to give a high level on the project again and Boralex. So as you know, we are a Canadian company. 35 years in the industry. More specifically, for battery projects, we have been the largest battery awardee of projects from the IESO over the last couple of years. So for the last couple of years, we have been constructing 2 battery projects, which are about to come online. And our 3rd battery project is just about to start construction. We're just going through all the permitting right now. Again, I'm not going to go through the IESO, why batteries are required. It's the same as last year, really, but if you want me to go through it, I can, but there's a need. The IESO has identified a big need. We need 75% more electricity than previously. Those are the projects that I just talked about. So it's our Hagersville project. It's a 300 megawatt project times 4 hour. And then we have our Tilbury project, which is an 80 megawatt project times 4 hour as well. And then our Oxford project, which is 125 megawatts. The unique thing about our Oxford project is actually in a gravel pit. So we were trying to do different land uses, and Hagersville, it's an industrial park, and Oxford actually is on agricultural land. Sorry, Tilbury. How batteries work, again, very, very high level. We take from the grid during times of low energy and put back on the grid during times of high energy or energy need. Why Lennox? This is kind of just our past. So it's not really why Lennox, but it talks about last year or 2 years ago now, I guess. I think everybody here knows what happened. So we'll just skip over that because it hurts still. And so here is our project. And one of the things that I really want to highlight on this slide is that we haven't changed the footprint. The footprint is changing, but what we did do last year, which we didn't get to come back to council to talk about, is based on some of the concerns from the neighbor, is we did shift the boundary of our project. So the one neighbor directly beside us to the west had a concern about us being close, so we shifted our project over so we're not right on the property line. And then also with regards to the driveway in, there is a concern from the one resident. So again, we also shifted the driveway to accommodate his concern. And then we shifted the transmission line as well. It was proposed to go along the property boundary on the west side. And again, to alleviate the concerns of the one neighbor, we shifted it to the middle as well. Why this location? Really, it comes down to Napanee is a great area. It is the backbone for all of southeastern Ontario for the transmission system. So that's really, it comes down to you guys having a fantastic spot. So we really do like this spot. And then as far as the specific site that we were looking at, it's already zoned for energy. So that was something that we really liked about the site as well. And then obviously working with our landowner, we've come to some really good terms with our landowner as well. Here's a high level of building a BESS. I know you guys have one already that's being built here, so I'm sure you know this as well. So I can skip over that unless you want any additional information. Just feel free to ask away. And I think, oh, here's our anticipated timelines. So for this project, the bid submission is due in December, so it's due December 18th. What we've done to date is last week we had an open house. The week before that, we actually went door knocking to the neighbors' homes around the project as well, and sent out notices a couple of weeks before that. And so over the next little while, we'll be doing some geotechnical and constructability analysis. We have also over the past year continued with environmental field work, and so we will continue that work as well over the next couple months and prepare our bid submission. Ideally, what we're asking tonight of council is for municipal support resolution, so that is our ask. So we would love to be able to get a municipal support resolution from council to be able to put in our bid submission in December. Contract award is in June, the IESO is saying. It's supposed to be June 16th, I believe. And again, fire safety. So we know this is a big issue. We also know that that it's very easily mitigated. And so I can go through this slide, but we also have Nick on the line, who is an expert, and he is our third-party expert that we usually bring in to train the local fire department and just to talk to the community to alleviate any concerns. So if you have any questions, I will leave it to the expert to answer those. I don't know where I'm supposed to be pointing now. Benefits. Oh, I'll go back. So one of the big benefits is in the past, we had a community vibrancy fund. We still have that community vibrancy fund, but also having developed a couple of projects to date already, we've also established a new fund that starts at contract award. So from contract award up until the commercial operation date, or COD date, we offer a fund of $100,000 per year to help with municipal staff to do whatever they need to do, whether it's hire third-party consultants or whatever, to help alleviate the pressures of our project, because we understand that our projects do add additional stress to municipal staff. So that is a new fund that we are offering, in addition to the, once we become operational, the Community Vibrancy Fund for the life of the project. And I think that's everything. Happy, I went through very quickly, happy to go through anything you want in more detail, but you know us, you know the project from before, and it hasn't really changed.
Great, thanks, Marnie. We'll see if we have any questions, and then I'll go ahead. I'll go Councillor Shank, Councillor Hicks, and then we'll go to the other side of the house here. So go ahead, Mike.
So the main concern the residents have was fire risk, what type of battery, technical studies after the RFP is rewarded to whatever battery is going with, you know, working in partnership with the fire department to make sure that it's all done, groundwater. Can you elaborate on something those lines and the concerns with fire and especially groundwater? You know, if you have a fire, and what are the chances of having a fire? I know they use Tesla batteries. You haven't chosen your exact battery yet, which I can understand when the RFP hasn't gone out, but how can you explain this? And even when you're done, here's another question, sorry for laying all these done, is that if and when it gets rewarded from the IESO or whatever, that, and you've chosen which battery, is that, because I see down here is there's a technical report that's, I think it's in Q2 in 2027 or 2026, I'm not sure exactly when it was when I read it, that there's a technical report coming back on what batteries and the safety concerns, just to alleviate some of the concerns that the residents might have, so that those things are addressed, which are valid concerns to a certain degree.
Sure. So I'll jump in first and talk about the battery in our RFP process, and then Nick, I'll pass it to you to go in depth on the fire safety aspect. And then if Nick doesn't touch on the groundwater, I can jump back in, but I know Nick can also address that as well. So from a battery perspective, you're right, we have not chosen our battery supplier as of yet. Our previous two previous projects, we've used Tesla. Our third most recent project, Oxford, we're using CSE, which is CES, Canadian Energy Systems. And so what we usually do is we get detailed information from a bunch of suppliers in order to put our bid together. And then if we actually win a contract, we go out to all those suppliers again. And they're all top tier, or what we call tier 1 suppliers, which means they meet all the certification requirements for suppliers in North America. And so we will go back out to all those suppliers and get more detailed pricing now that we know we have a contract, we know the exact dates we have to meet for when we have to be online. And at that point in time, we have a little bit more information from a constructability and geotechnical standpoint as well, because we like to buy or procure the best battery for the site. And so we'll go back out, go through that process, and at that point in time, that's when we will pick the supplier. As far as the supplier requirements from fire safety, I'll now pass it to Nick, but they will all be certified suppliers.
Yep, go ahead, Nick.
Yep. Sorry, council members, can you guys hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, Mayor and council members, thanks. My name is Nick Petrakis. I'm a professional engineer, fire protection engineer, and we specialize in battery energy storage system safety. We were invited by Boralex to talk about lithium-ion battery energy storage safeties, but I think one of the main items that we touch on is that we develop these emergency response procedures, fire department training, and familiarization drills. And we also help develop a lot of the documentation, the fire safety documentation that's required, not just from the nationally recognized codes and standards, the industry best practices that we utilize today, but also HONE's, Hydro One's interconnection requirements mandate all of these technical reports to be done to validate fire safety. So it's multi-pronged tiered approach, but one of the things that Boralex does very well is early community outreach, but also early fire department outreach. And we are there side by side with Boralex, reaching out to the first responders, conducting emergency response planning and letting them know about the emergency response procedures and just helping them kind of understand what to do if there was a very unlikely event of a fire, but also what's involved in developing these plans.
Nick, could you jump in a little bit more on just kind of the high level fire prevention mechanisms that are associated with batteries and various battery suppliers?
Yeah, one of the big ones is the large scale fire testing, what we call the UL 9540A. I know we're all familiar with the Tesla technology, but as Marnie mentioned, Canadian Solar and the SolBank system, these tier 1 manufacturers are all required to do this very robust destructive fire testing. So this is very unique in this industry. Not all technologies are required to do this sort of test, where they're actually required to destructively force it into a fire and a failure condition in order to see what happens. So that's one of the industry best practices, a recommendation that we'd have, and it's a requirement across the board for all technologies.
Does that answer, or do you want me to dig in? Oh, groundwater. So with regards to groundwater, Nick, did you want to jump in on this, or do you want me to answer it?
Yeah, a very high level with groundwater contamination. Our recommendations in the emergency response plan is to not use water, let the system burn itself out, because it has been tested and shown to fail that way. So when we reduce the use of water, we also reduce the concerns about groundwater contamination. That's sort of just our high level. I don't know, Marnie, if you wanted to go more into it, but with a lot of the testing that we do, there's very minimum impact to groundwater and toxicity from a battery fire.
Yeah, and so with the groundwater as well, there's no actual liquid within the battery units themselves that can leach out to the groundwater and contaminate the groundwater table. So again, there's been very little research that has identified there is a concern with groundwater contamination. Our Oxford project, we are actually 1 foot? A little bit more than a foot from the groundwater table, because we are in a quarry. And so we've done quite a bit of research on potential impacts, and we haven't identified impacts that would be associated with the groundwater table. There's also additional precautions that can be taken, which is putting down a membrane to protect the groundwater table as well. So if it is deemed to be a concern and that we are close, that is something that we can also do.
Yep, great. Thanks, Councillor Shank, and I'll go to Councillor Hicks.
Farms, arable land and you have these solar farms and limited lifespan. And I know that you have not purchased the land. I believe you're leasing it. And I'm just wondering if for the general public, you can expand a little bit on the steps that you're taking to preserve the quality of the farmland for when the life cycle of the project is over. Because I found that to be a very interesting read myself. So if you wouldn't mind, thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So as I mentioned, the site is zoned energy, which is one of the reasons why we were first very interested in the property. But the landowner is farming the property, and so we had quite a few discussions with the landowner to ensure and give comfort on the state that we would bring the land back when the project is completed. And so we have commitments in place with the landowner through our lease agreement with him to bring the land back to the state that it is in now and to the quality. So that means we remove all the equipment. We bring back topsoil that we originally removed and used for berms. We pull that back on, and we help ensure to the extent we possibly can that we're not compacting the soil too much to ensure that he has the ability to farm it again at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks. Is there any other questions? Seeing none, and I think my fellow councillors had asked the questions. I was going to ask the question about the putting it back to the way it was and all the testing that you do prior to, and then the testing that you do afterwards to put it back to the way it was. And I think that was a really neat concept that we heard the last time. So really, one of the main differences, which obviously I like, is that upon your successful application with IESO, you begin paying a $100,000 fund to help ease any issues that we have to try and get this thing up and running. So I want to thank you for that, because I think it's forward thinking on your organization's part to say, listen, we understand that there's going to be some costs associated to this municipality, and you don't believe that our municipality should absorb those costs, and you're going to help with those. So I thank you for that. So is there any other questions or comments for these ladies before we look for a motion? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Calver.
Yeah, just a comment, Your Worship. I attended your open house the other night there, very well received and very well done. Got 99% of my questions answered that night, just wandered around talking. So I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver. If there's nothing else, we'll look for a motion to note and receive. And I'm glad that, once again, you answered my question, because my question was going to be, when are you going to need a municipal support resolution? But it's by the 18th of December. So I'm sure that we've got sufficient time for council to mull this over in their head, and then we'll get back to you, I'm sure, in the not too distant future. So thanks for being so thorough, and thanks for sticking it out with our municipality. I know it was a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow with the first go around, because I know that you did put forward a very aggressive application, and for reasons unbeknownst to any of us at the time, it just wasn't successful. So thank you for that. So if there's nothing else, we'll look for a motion to note and receive the Boralex IES proposal this evening. Moved by Councillor Hicks, seconded by Councillor Shank. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks, ladies, and I'm sure that we'll be in contact in the not too distant future. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, councillors.
Yep. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Next up on our agenda is deputations with respect items on the agenda. I don't believe we have any. Correspondence items on the agenda. I don't believe we have any. Unfinished business. I don't believe that we have any, which will get us right into the administrative consent agenda, which isn't too bad this evening. We'll start off with the council minutes, regular session of council, August 26, 2025, and the special session of council, August 27, 2025. Is there anything in those minutes anyone had any questions or comments about? Seeing none. Committee minutes, the Municipal Heritage Committee, and I think Councillor Martin wants to make some comments about that. So the floor is yours, Bill, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I just wanted to make a few comments on a very successful weekend that we had. We put our new plaquing system into place, and we put a plaque on our first building, our old fire hall here on the Market Square. And I think it went very well, and the farmers market was going on at the same time, but we worked well. The Chamber of Commerce agreed to let us have part of the market square, so everything worked out great. And I want to thank my committee members because I'll tell you, we got some very ambitious people on that committee, and they work very hard. They love researching, and they did a tremendous job on it. And I also want to thank the building owner, Erica, there, because she's done a tremendous job in renovating the building, and it's going to go in well with what we're doing here with this building. The Market Square is just going to be a shining light in the future. So I think Erica needs a lot of praise for doing that and repurposing the building, like I say. I want to thank certainly everybody that was involved on the weekend. The Coburg Firefighters Museum for the 1941 fire truck pumper that originally was here in Napanee back in the 40s. So it was nice to see it back in town again. And of course, Bill Pearson loves those red trucks, and he always gets quite worked up when he sees that truck in town. So, and I want to thank Chief Armstrong here and our present day firefighters, because we had them here on the market with our present day equipment. And I think it's kind of appropriate that was the first building we put our first heritage awareness plaque on, because I think with most municipalities, when they're starting out, the very first thing that they put together is a fire department. So I think that was very appropriate, and I think it was very well done. I just want to thank everybody for a tremendous day. I think it worked out very well. So if you want to come down and have a look at 13 Market Square plaque on the building, and if you have a building that meets the minimum requirement, which is it's got to be at least 75 years old, and you'd like to have a plaque on your building, you can always apply. You can go onto the town website, www.greaternapanee.com, and get some further information on the plaques. And I just appreciate everybody. And I do want to mention as well, don't forget Culture Days is coming up September 20th, Saturday, September 20th. And the Heritage members are going to be going around Market Square handing out gift bags with further information on the blocking system. So I just want to thank everybody again. Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me a few minutes here. Thank you.
No, it's always good to hear, Bill, and you're absolutely right. It was an absolutely marvelous weekend. The skies cleared, and it was really refreshing to see the number of folks that were in the Market Square area and the smiles and the things that were going on there. So congratulations to the Heritage Committee. I know that you're going to have a bunch of more plaques coming up, and I know that those events are going to be just as successful as this one was. So thank you very much for mentioning that. So, yeah, go ahead, Councillor Shank.
Well done. Well done. Robin Lee went ahead and came down, and he did came down to the farm, went ahead and showed me his wife and himself went ahead and did a lot of research of 1840, when it was and how it went through and all the other stuff. And he was asking me questions also. So kudos to them for the amount of work that they put into it. All right. And to go ahead and show and research and the amount of information, like they had a binder that was that thick plus another one also. So there was a lot of hours that have gone through, and as a community, I think it was fantastic that they did that and how they did it. So kudos to you and your group, and Bill, fantastic job. Well done.
Great, thanks, and well said, Councillor Shank. Is there anything else? If not, we'll move on to the next matter, which is going to be the correspondence for information items dated September 9th, 2025. Is there anything in those correspondence anyone had any questions or comments about? Deputy Mayor Cower.
Yeah, I'd like to speak about the backyard chicken. Is that coming up yet or no?
No, not yet. No, but we will get there, so. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to rail proclamations. We have three of them. We have Rail Safety Week, we have the National Legion Week, and the National British Home Child Day. Is there anything in those proclamations? I know that we've done them in the past, and they're always very successful proclamations. So, and I know that, Bill, you're probably going to want to speak to one of them, so go ahead.
Thank you again, Mayor. Yeah, I always like to, it's a National British Home Child Day is important to me because I think I've mentioned before, my father was one of those 14-year-olds that come over here from England. And just want to say that, Dad, I know you're watching from above. The porch light will be on for you that day. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Martin. Councillor Norrie.
And just quickly on the National Legion Week, the 27th, there's a lot of festivities going all around the Legion. Everybody's welcome, barbecues, entertainment, and so on. So just watch the beaver and so on. And please come down and celebrate our veterans. Thank you. Great.
Thanks, Councillor Norrie. And again, well said. So is there anything else? If not, we'll move on to executive services, the backyard poultry bylaw update. And I think Deputy Mayor Calver, I think you're going to speak to that. So go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, through your worship. I jumped ahead all by myself there. I messed up, so I apologize for that. I'd like to go with staff recommendation on this. The avian bird flu hasn't settled down. It's still on quite an increase around the areas and whatnot. And I do like the staff recommendation that council receive for information executive service backyard poultry bylaw update report, and further council confirm that given the ongoing concerns around the avian flu, council does not wish to permit backyard poultry in urban areas, and further council direct the resolution number 482/23 to be removed from the resolution tracker.
Yep, great. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Calver, and we'll get to that when we get to the end of the consent agenda. But yeah, it's been hanging around. I think it's time to put it to bed. So, executive services compensation bylaw Schedule B update. Is there anything in that bylaw Schedule B that anyone had any questions or comments about? Seeing none. Quarter 2 2025 financial update. Is there anything in that financial update that anyone had any questions or comments about? Seeing none, so bear with me here. We'll look for a motion that council consent to the approval of the following routine items: that the minutes of the regular session of council dated August 26, 2025 and the special session of council dated August 27, 2025 be adopted as presented. That the Municipal Heritage Committee minutes of August 21st, 2025 be received for information. That the correspondence for information items dated September 9th, 2025 be received. That council endorse the proclamations for Rail Safety Week, National Legion Week, and National British Home Child Day. That council receive for information the executive services backyard poultry bylaw update report, and further that council confirm that given ongoing concerns around the avian flu, council does not wish to permit backyard poultry in urban areas, and further that council direct that resolution 482/23 be removed from the resolution tracker. That council receive for information the executive services compensation bylaw Schedule B update report, and further that council consider a bylaw to update Schedule B of the compensation bylaw to reflect the current organizational structure later on in this agenda, and that council receive for information the financial and IT services report Q2 2025 financial update. Moved by Councillor Norrie, seconded by Deputy Mayor Calver. If there's no further comments, questions, or concerns, all in favor of that motion? Opposed, the motion is carried. Items for consideration. First matter this evening is the rail trail north of the 401, and I see Mr. Grant going to the front of the chambers. So, Mr. Grant, when you're ready, the floor will be yours.
Great. Thank you, Your Worship. And through you, Mr. Mayor, to members of council. So I would say this will be a different presentation than I thought I was going to give when I first wrote this, and I'll give a bit of background. In lots of conversation with members of council and members of the mayor, we've been working through the resolution tracker, looking to knock things off the list to make sure that we can move off council's wish list. And since this report's been published, a number of council members have been kind enough to come forward and let me know that the initial report as written really missed the mark. And they explain their reasons why, and I have to agree with them. In particular, the initial resolution that was looking to be taken off the tracker talked about deferring any decision on that particular rail trail land until such time significant stakeholder work and taken place, which it has, and a good faith effort to be undertaken to get around the 401 in a way that doesn't impact property owners. And what specifically members of council said to me was, by removing this from the resolution tracker, it doesn't sufficiently remind us of our obligation to the stakeholders that we made. And so for clarity, it was a good deed that was not necessarily well thought out. And council, who did not have any desire to change what we were doing, was kind enough to point that out. So it is my intention with some of the background information and an alternatives to consider, to sort of put us back on track there. So it is worth noting that a lot of good faith efforts have taken place. We have had a lot of input from the ad hoc trail committee. They have mapped out 2 in-town trails that could be worked on. There is a report coming to the budget committee in which council can expect a recommendation from staff that we take on some of that work. I have talked with some of the ad hoc committee members about possible fundraising to assist us in those efforts. The other thing that's worth noting is when we brought forward the surplus land listing, this land was actually on the surplus land list previously. It didn't make it on this list because we considered it, like that list, a for sale list. And we appreciated council had given us the direction that until we made the plans to get past the 401, that, you know, we weren't ready to move on that land. So I have a couple of suggestions for council's consideration. The original recommendation was to take it off the surplus land list until such time to take it off the follow-up resolution tracker until such time that the 401 issue had been settled. And that is the getting the rail trail or the in-town trails past the 401 to continue on. What council let me know was that doesn't cut it, because that takes our eye off the ball. And I agree with that. And while it's my recommendation in the report, it's not my recommendation this evening. The other options at your disposal is don't take it off the resolution tracker and leave it. Keep us reminded of where we're going on that. Another option for council is put the rail trail back on the surplus land listing. That land is class 2. Class 2 land, for what council will be reminded of, is that's land that is completely inaccessible to other members of the public. It doesn't front on a street. It wouldn't be something that we put up for public sale, because it would only be a very limited number of people, abutting property owners, who could purchase that. Put a stipulation on those lands that it's not to be sold until the trail past the 401 has been determined. And we've had those conversations with the Ministry of Transportation. We haven't arrived there yet, but what it looks like is a utility corridor under the road that would be, you know, gas lines, power lines, that sort of stuff, but you widen it out big enough where you can get bikes and pedestrians under it. So we're waiting on the MTO to figure out what that looks like. But so you could put it, back on the surplus land listing under class 2, put a stipulation on it that we don't sell until we've settled that, and remove it from the resolution tracker. That way you've got a reminder for your intentions about where we've come, so we can, as it was put to me by members of council this week, not so subtly, that it is your intention to keep your word. And the last one I would suggest is, it's very similar to the last one, but you can put it back on the surplus land listing under class 2. A stipulation that the lands not be sold until the issue of the rail trail past the 401 has been determined, but further ensure that the proceeds of that land sale go towards the development of in-town trails. And the reason I make that recommendation is the land was purchased at one point with the idea of a trail. The ad hoc committee, which had, landowners and trail enthusiasts, they've determined it's not appropriate to, move up to other trail networks because it won't connect. They recommended, and we adopted that recommendation, that we block off the bridge for trespassing reasons. But when that land gets sold, the funds can go for their original intention for moving along the in-town trails, of which we now have a plan because of the ad hoc committee. And Mr. Brown has been diligently working on a report to bring forward to council for their consideration. And it looks like we may also have some partners that might help fundraise for the effort. With that, I will say sorry. And I've got some options to try to make it better.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Does anybody, go ahead, Deputy McCower.
Thank you, through your worship. So see all kinds of options here. Put the trail back on it, put the trail back on the surplus under class 2. Lands are to be sold. Use the money raised in the sale of the lands to go towards the trail. We know it's a go nowhere piece of property. We're not going to put it back on the, put it up on a for sale sign to the public because it's going to go nowhere. Why wouldn't we just move ahead with the sale of the land?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to members of council. So I'm going on the intention of the original resolution. That's the original resolution whose intention I kind of exceeded. So that would be, up to council to do that. If that were the direction council wanted to go, and those lands were to be sold, I would and I favored the last option of taking those lands, similar to what we did in Market Square, where we sold properties on Market Square to fund, not at taxpayer expense, the remodeling of this building. I would put that into in-town trails, which would actually assist us in some of the work that needs to be done. And as Mr. Brown is going to point out, it requires our expertise and it requires money. So if council wanted to move in that direction, you certainly can, but I didn't want to make that recommendation because I'd already muddied the waters enough.
Go ahead, Councillor Shank.
So this is my train of thought here. What I feel is a conclusion to this, what's going on. So you had the ad hoc committee, all right? And you had proponents on both sides, and they came to a conclusion that the railway, all right, with the expansion of the 401 and everything else and the maintenance and the whole 9 yards, is not feasible, all right? And then a trail that is basically dead-ended. All right, so there's no thing. So the ad hoc committee came to council, went ahead and said, guys, let's first of all do our internal trails first. So I really like your idea is that I propose that we go ahead, put it back on the surplus list, sell that property, all right, use those funds so we can start the internal trails of that, exactly what you said, what we did here with the town hall. All parties on both sides have already discussed this to death. So I'd like to put this to bed rather sooner than later. All right. And then at the same time, you have some money. All right. Whatever that fair market value is for that to go back into those internal trails. All right. Because if that property would extend to go somewhere else, then that argument has already been dealt with, and ad hoc have already had those arguments on both sides. And if they've come to then why not? I concur with what ad hoc committee has stated. So through you, Mr. Mayor, through the clerk, do I make a motion that might be pertaining to the same line of thought that I had just mentioned now?
Yeah, I think we're going to give everybody an opportunity to have some conversation, I think, Mike, and then we'll look for a motion. So we've got a number of options here. So, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't agree with putting it on surplus list. I don't agree with selling it. I think we've got to wait and see what happens with that bridge going across 401. If it's removed, if I think Mr. Grant suggested that there may be an option to go under the 401. There may be an option, actually, you didn't mention it, but when they widen the bridge going north, there may be an option to have pedestrian traffic go across the bridge and veer up or there may be potential. I know the owner of the property we're discussing is sitting here tonight, but maybe there's an option to swap land. Maybe there's an option someday that a future council, 50 years, 100 years from now, will look back and say, gosh, I'm glad they didn't sell that land, because maybe Strathcona plant won't be there someday. You never know. And it could join up with the other trail there. So I just don't want to get rid of it. However we word a motion here tonight, I don't want that to be gone. It's going to be worth very little to anyone who wants to buy it. I would doubt that the town would gain any money from it, much at all. But I could be wrong on that. But being in real estate, I know what a rail line is worth. It's only worth what it is to the property owners it runs through. So I'm not saying we're going to use it. I'm just saying we should preserve it for the future. And I think all councils deserve to look ahead at what future councils may need it for or may want it for. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Is there anything else before I wait? Go ahead, Mr. Grant.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Martin, fair points. I would say that I would just remind council that they struck a committee of parties on both sides, so to speak. They debated this issue. They did bring forward recommendations that didn't include that property. And in fact, they recommended closing off the bridge. And so the reason I made the recommendation is I don't believe that it was determined there's a future for that particular property, but there was, as we go north towards town and they expand the 401 going under it, that bridge itself is not necessarily fit for purpose. And I would say the best thing we could do is to remove it so we don't incur ongoing costs.
Go ahead, Councillor Martin.
I certainly do agree with you on the bridge. I mean, the bridge has got to go, and we know it's going to go when they widen the 401. I thought where we were, to be honest with you, and maybe I missed something, was that we were going to develop the inner trail, but we hadn't totally abandoned the idea of having that trail connect someday in the future. But I thought we were going to concentrate on the in-town trail, yes. But I thought, maybe I thought wrong, that we were going to just let that northern section lie and someday possibly connect it to the in-town trail.
So I'm going to go from memory here, which my wife would warn me against, but I'm going to do it anyway. My understanding and my recollection is the recommendation we received from the committee was they determined that particular trail wasn't going to be able to go where we needed it to go. There was the recommendation to get past the 401, move along Goodyear Road, and then make our way north to try to get to the Cataraqui Trail. And in the interim, while we figure out things with the Ministry of Transportation, which is, going to take a while, and to his credit, Michael and his team have been diligent. I would say assertive, like in reminding them of what we're looking to do. But in their discussions, that was taken off the table. The bridge was blocked, and it was along Goodyear Road that they wanted to move in that direction in general. And so when we do in-town trail work, following the ad hoc recommendations, that's sort of where we'd be gearing towards. And then in the discussions where we focus getting past the 401, we'd most likely look to go under it.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Grant. That is my understanding as well. And just for clarification, and I know Mr. Milligan is in the room, but nobody can see or hear him. The portion of the trail that we're talking about that is surplus, the only property owner abutting it is Mill Spring Farm, correct? And Goodyear. So those are so just to confirm for those that are watching, Mr. Milligan confirmed that the only property owners abutting the Class 2 lands, which consist of the rail line, are Goodyear and Mill Spring Farms. That rail, their property ends at the Sutton family farm. Am I correct? So it ends at the solar farm, which we do not have access to. And then it continues on to the Sutton family farm, which is a multi-generational farm and not likely to be going anywhere in the near future. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do not foresee in 50 years any way possible for that rail line. And again, that's already been determined by the ad hoc committee, and council has accepted their recommendations. I don't agree necessarily with putting it up for sale right now, but I think it should be, we can remove the resolution. I like the resolution because it's there and it's a glaring reminder to everyone on this council and future councils that it needs to be dealt with, that there is a project underway. It's just sitting there. It's not doing anything. I don't know what the amount of money would be that we would get for it, but I think good faith to the ratepayers of the town and the ad hoc committee is to just leave it, not sell it right now until we've made further headway with the MTO on getting over or under the 401.
Yeah, okay, Councillor Shank.
Right, so the point is that we all agreed, the ad hoc committee said, we're gonna close the railway line, and the town went ahead and we put up barriers, but closed no trespassing on the railway bridge itself. The ad hoc committee, and it's proven in how many reports that we've seen, that saying that railway line ends and doesn't go anywhere. It's just going across behind somebody's property. So I always try to put yourself in the other person's position, all right, or the other farmer's position, or the other thing. What would you feel? Now, you want to go ahead and make a decision because it might upset somebody else, but we've already gone through all these public meetings and discussions and everything else. And then we're going to leave it to a new council, and you never know who you're going to get. And they're going to say, oh, by the way, we're going to make this into a walking trail. All right. Now you've got the county arguing about homelessness. You know, you're going to leave public property behind a multi-million-dollar farm, and they're not supposed to be upset. I would lose my mind. So all I'm saying is look at the other side of the coin. If the trail was going somewhere and it was not in a dead end, you would have an argument on leaving it open and not having it in a surplus list. Camden Road, when they expand the 401, they will be doing redevelopment on that bridge, you know, walking or whatever. A couple of designs that I saw was one going north with the old Skidoo Trail, one going possibly over the Camden Road, over that bridge there. But at no time do I believe MTO will go underground right where the railway bridge is at this current time. So therefore, if that's not being done, and that's a moot point, and it's already closed, we got a dead-end trail, the ad hoc, so we put proponents on both sides for the trail and against the trail for them to come to a conclusion. And we've had some very intelligent people sitting on those committees. And if we say, well, by the way, for the last 3 years that you've been doing this committee, and you know what, we don't agree with you, and you've already come to our public meetings, and you gave our presentation, and we didn't question you there, and now we're going to go ahead and say, we don't want to sell it, when they're saying, hey, guys, we don't need it? Wow, I don't want to be down that road. So I'll wait until everybody has their discussion, then I'll make my motion.
I'm going to try and help things out here, Councillor Shank. We've created an ad hoc committee for a reason. They've done a marvelous bunch of work. We have a direction to go in. And unfortunately, Mr. Grant stepped in a mud puddle here, which we can't do nothing about that, Mr. Grant. You're in the mud puddle, so I apologize. However, we've employed an ad hoc committee to do this work, you know what we should do? We should bring them back and have a conversation with them because they're the ones that did all the work on this. And so maybe what we should do is before we change direction, because we did have a direction with a resolution, before we change direction, maybe we should have a chat with them and see what their thoughts are. And then, because let's face it, none of us had worked on this, and we had six very able, competent people that worked on this thing. And I'll tell you, they came up with some solutions that I didn't think were possible. And I just don't think it's fair to the ad hoc committee for us to make a decision this evening without actually consulting with them. I'm sure that we can get them probably back in the next meeting or two, Mr. Grant, can we?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm confident we can. I'm also confident that they would be very receptive to sharing their perspectives that they've already given, and to hearing that we're open to making on the ground progress on trails within the town. I think in some of the conversations that I've had is talk is great, but investing in some of the trail stuff that we have on the ground is even better. So I'll remain in the mud puddle, sir.
I just think we owe it to these six people to come and have a chat with us, because when they left these council chambers, we had a direction. We had a resolution on the books. And I think it's to be fair to them that we should invite them back. If we're going to change the direction, we should have them back here and say, listen, this is what the conversation is. What do you think? Where are you at? Maybe they've done more work on it. Maybe they haven't. I don't know. But I got to admit, they have done an absolutely marvelous bunch of work on this thing. They come up with some solutions that I didn't think were ever possible. And they put us in a direction where it was all downhill for us. And then unfortunately, we had an oops. So in any event, go ahead, Councillor Shank.
Yeah, so I agree with the way it's working out, that yes, so get a hold of the ad hoc committees and they can go ahead and make another not yes, no, you know what I mean? We've already know the internal, all right, and where the funds are gonna go, so, you know what I mean, and talk with them. So they come to the next meeting. So, and that'll, if that's what it takes to be, so that's the way it's gonna have to go. So I agree. There we go.
Councillor Hicks.
Through you, your worship, then could I table a motion to defer this item 10.1 Rail Trail North of the 401 until a future meeting when the ad hoc committee can come back and present?
Do we need to table that, Madam Clerk, or can we put that in unfinished business until we can have the ad hoc committee to come see us?
Through your worship, I believe the motion Councillor Hicks is requesting would be to defer a decision on this matter until the ad hoc committee can come and present again to council. I believe tabling is the one to make it go away forever. And I don't think that's what you want.
No, a motion to defer, and I in my heart, I think that's what we need to do, is that we need to we need to hear from the people that did all the work on this, for goodness sake, like that's, I don't think it's fair to those six people that put their heart and soul into coming up with a solution for us to automatically decide that we're going in a different direction, and all the hard work that they've done is null and void. So, Councillor Hicks, you're going to make that motion?
Yes, I am. Thank you, your worship.
And Councillor Shank will second it. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns with respect to the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks, folks. And we'll move forward from it. We will move forward from it. So, next matter: Executive Services Economic Development Advisory Process. Mr. Grant.
So thank you. Through you, your worship, to members of council. So you will recall when there was work done on advisory committees more generally, a bylaw, mandate letters, and the like. There was an outstanding resolution about an economic development advisory committee. And the recommendation at the time we did the general work on committees was to come up with an agreed upon economic development process. And so what that looks like is I have borrowed from the planner's workbook. And what I would suggest is when council seeks economic development advice, particularly in a rapidly changing environment that we live in right now with the economics of the world, that we engage with a tool with a very prescribed timeline and specific goal or problems we're trying to solve in what's called a charrette process. So a charrette process at a high level is you take interested parties within the community. You also go out and you grab subject matter expertise where you can find it. You put them in a room together. So the views of the people that are impacted or interested, as well as people who either do it for a living, study it for a living, and have that subject matter expertise, work through the issues together, and you get a local informed solution. I've been part of these types of things on several occasions and different jurisdictions. They work really well. And what it does is it gives you the ability to intelligently troubleshoot or to seek inspiration to move things in a direction you want it to move them in. So that's the process I'm recommending. And so when we bump into issues related to economic development matters, rather than having an ongoing committee where people are looking to generate ideas, which is not unwelcome, but it's, I think, more specifically with the environment we're in, is when we bump into stuff and we need advice, we grab the people who are impacted, we grab the people who do it for a living and who study it for a living, we put them in the same room, and then you get the best, most comprehensive advice that you can get. And that's the direction that I'm recommending that we go. And it's on an as needed basis. And the people you're going to pull together, issue dependent. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Grant. Is there any questions or comments from Mr. Grant with respect to his presentation or the report? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just
Councillor.
moved staff recommendation. I think it's an excellent excellent idea. All right, and a concept of how you can promote economic growth in the municipality. So we have a plan in place, and you go ahead and you put the right people in the place that you can entice more business into that area. So you have the professionals talking to the professionals. So excellent idea, and I'll move that motion.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Shank. Councillor Shank moves that council receive for the Economic Development Advisory process and that council identify a charrette process involving a working group of experts and stakeholders as its economic development advisory process, and the council authorize staff to remove resolution 058/25 from the council resolution tracker. Moved by Councillor Shank, second by Councillor Norrie. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns with respect to the motions on the floor? Seeing none, all in favor of the motions on the floor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Executive Services Council Committees vacancy. Madam Clerk. Sorry, Jess, go ahead. You're up.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. I believe this report is fairly straightforward, and possibly I have these reports in the wrong order, but we're just looking for council to determine whether a temporary or permanent alternate appointment should be made to fill the vacancies currently on the Aquatics Advisory Committee and the Market Square Advisory Committee. There's a number of options in your report, and this is fully council's discretion.
Great, thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll open the floor. Obviously, we know that with Councillor Pennell's passing, that a couple of these positions have now opened up. Councillor Hicks, you were a council representative on a committee which no longer exists. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have any sort of portfolio now with any committees?
I do not, other than Bay of Quinte and Conservation. I have no committees of council.
And I think everybody else has probably got their fair share, I
I'll
think.
move Angela Hicks be appointed to these things.
Thank you, Councillor Shank. I love it being here. So you're reading my mind. We do have a motion for Councillor Shank to that Councillor Hicks is be appointed as the council liaison representative for the Market Square Advisory Committee. Madam Clerk, we used to have, did we not have to ask if the person that's been nominated has to accept, or are we going to just bull our
Through
way
your
through
worship,
that?
yes, that is generally part of the process.
I thought that's what it was. Councillor Hicks, you've been nominated and you haven't got any choice. So do you want to do this or not?
I think the word is voluntold. Yes, I would gladly accept the nomination for the Market Square Advisory Committee. Thank you.
Great, thanks. So we do have a motion on the floor for Councillor Hicks to take on that portfolio. Is there any other questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion that's on the floor? Opposed, motion's carried. Next matter is the Aquatics Advisory Committee. Is anyone interested in sitting in that seat until we can decide how to fill Councillor Pennell's spot? I mean, I guess the saving grace is that I'm on all the committees, so I mean, I can cover that off if need be till we have a representative for Ward 3, unless somebody wants to fill that position until we do have the position filled.
Thanks.
Yeah, Councillor
So
Shake.
I'll nominate the mayor, County Greater Napanee, to fill in that until such time as needed.
Yeah, and I think I can do that because I'm already there anyways, kind of. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So thanks, Mike. Hey, do we need a resolution or a motion to do that, Madam Clerk, even though I'm already on it as the mayor?
Through your worship, if you were appointed as the interim council liaison, then you would also have voting privileges. So I think it's worth doing a motion, just for the record.
Deputy Mayor Cower?
I said I can take on the aquatics role if it would take some time away from you.
Okay, no, I appreciate that, and actually you being the chair or the council member on the recreation committee, that might actually fit, might even fit even better. So I appreciate that. So Deputy Mayor Calver, I think that is going to sit in on that at least until we get the Ward 3 position filled as an interim basis. Did you want to do it that way, Brian?
No, I can take it.
Take it straight up. Perfect. Okay, so Brian's going to take it straight up. So it looks like we're. Councillor Shank makes the motion. Councillor Hicks seconds that motion. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks, Brian. Madam Clerk, I think that covers that off, doesn't it? Moving on to the next one, Executive Services option for filling council vacancy. Go ahead.
So through your worship, this report outlines the various options that council has for filling the vacancy on council. Staff has no preference as to which option is chosen. This is entirely council's discretion. There are a number of pros and cons associated with each option, and those are detailed in those reports. We could have the position filled as quickly as the next meeting, should council choose one of the direct appointment options by the statutory deadline of mid-October. If council seeks to do an application process and then make an appointment, and in early to mid-January if we go with a by-election. If you have any questions about any of those methods, I am happy to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councillor Shank.
So this is my thoughts, and everybody can tell me whether I'm nuts or not. So the point is doing a direct appointment of council, I don't think is the democratic way, because as many people that might like that individual, there might be somebody that doesn't. And everybody in Ward 3, their representative should be, chosen by them, not by somebody that's representing a different ward or whatever. So that's for option one. So that's the reason why I believe that's it. We have to go down quite from to point the next runner up for the last election. So that is getting to the point where what the percentage of vote was, and then how many there might be against. So why should we have the right to do that, to pick somebody that was that far down? That's just straight business wise. Then if we go appoint from a pool of applicants, well, of course, we're all human. I'm going to pick somebody I like. You're going to pick somebody you're like. Well, that isn't the democratic process. So we shouldn't have to go ahead and have to say, well, we're going to choose who we're going to pick and who we're not going to pick. So I know it costs money, But the best and most transparent and open way, as far as I'm concerned, is hold a by-election. It gives the residents to pick, the people that are interested in wanting to run, all right, they can run, and the way you go, all right? I know it costs money, but we have to always strive to be totally transparent and totally democratic the way we do things and how it's being discussed. So that's why I know it costs money, and there's nobody any tighter than I am, but I'm just saying, this is the best. This has got to be, this has got to be fair and open. So that's the reason why I go with option 4, and I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Councillor Shank. I'll get some other opinions here and then we'll come back to you. So Councillor Norrie, then I go to Deputy Mayor Carver, and then I'll go to Councillor Martin. So, okay, Bob.
Thank you, Your Worship. And yes, Councillor Shanks, I fully agree with the democratic process. For someone to have 6-7 months till we go to lame duck, what would it cost the taxpayer? I know I'm tight with money too, but just so the public knows and everything.
So through your worship, the number in the report is approximately $24,000. That's the best estimate we have. I would ask council authorize use of up to $30,000 from the election reserve. We do have the money in the reserve. It impacts, some of those costs will be one-time. Some of those costs can be carried forward to the election that we're going to have in 2026. Not all of them. Some of the staffing work can be carried forward into the election for 2026. We do have the money there in the reserve as we've been building up towards a ward boundary review. So if there's a cost impact, it would be hitting in 27, 28, depending on how these costs turn out and depending on how the costs of our 2026 election turn out. Obviously, we will seek to be as wise with taxpayer dollars as we can.
Thank you. Again, I believe in the democratic process, and even though it's 8 months, if people want to do it, I agree with Councillor Shank 100%.
Thank you, Councillor Norrie. Councillor or Deputy Mayor Carver, then I'll go to Councillor Martin.
Thank you, through your worship. Absolutely. I mean, we've run this whole term being transparent and democratic, and I think that's the direction we should be going. I couldn't agree 100%.
Great. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Carver. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I agree 100% with Councillor Shank on this. Can't put a price on democracy, so absolutely. Thank you. That's all I got to say on it.
Thanks, Phil. Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Jessica, can you tell me what voters list? I think I read somewhere that we're using the original voters list from the 2022 election. Is that, no? So are we using the new voters list that's being provided through Elections Ontario now?
Yes, so through your worship, we will be expediting our voters list cleanup work that we've been starting in on for Ward, focusing in on Ward 3. But yes, we would use an up-to-date voters list. We would not use the 2022 voters list.
Okay, thank you. I know there's probably not many apartment buildings in Ward 3, and that was where a lot of the issues were lying, I think, with the last election. And this is an off-the-top question. Do you know the total number of eligible voters from the last election? In Ward 3 specifically.
Sorry, through your worship, I can find it because I had to get the pricing estimate based off of that. That would be off 2022 numbers. I do know Ward 3 is our largest number. Just 1 second, I'll look that up.
Great, thanks.
Thank you very much. And I too am in favor of a by-election. I just had a couple of questions about the process. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Hicks, and I want to thank council for taking all the comments that I was going to make. Anyways, I agree with all the comments that were made here this evening. We as a council have taken pride in doing everything as transparent and fair as a council can do, and you know, we have been working extremely hard to get public input with respect to just about everything we do. And I don't think there's any better public input that we can get than to have a by-election. So I agree with Councillor Shank, everything that he said, and all the other members of council, that I think that's the fair way of doing it. I think that's the most democratic way of doing it. And like Councillor Martin says, how do you put a price on democracy? You really can't, I don't think anyway. So thank you, folks, for the conversation. And I think it bodes well for who we are as a council. And And I thank you for that. So what I've heard is that council received for information the executive services options for filling council vacancy report, and further that council directs staff to proceed with option 4 by election to fill a vacant councillor seat, and further that council authorize the use of up to $30,000 for the election reserve for the cost of a by-election. And I think Councillor Shank, you are going to move that staff recommendation. Seconded by Councillor Hicks. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns with respect to the motion that's on the floor? Oh, sorry, did I miss? Yeah, go ahead, Jess.
Sorry, through your worship, just to follow up on Councillor Hicks's question, we have approximately, rounding, 3,500 voters in Ward 3.
Great, thanks, Jess. Sorry, we do have a motion on the floor. Is there anything further before we call for the vote? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion that's on the floor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Parks, Recreation, and Culture Train Station Waiting Room, Mr. Brown, I think that's yours. So whenever you're ready, Chris, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. So I just wanted to bring this report forward as a matter of information. And all we're really looking for here is for council to endorse, for staff to engage in conversation with Via Rail Canada once again, just to discuss some possible alternative options to the existing operations of the waiting room for the train passengers. So as you know, the town has a lease agreement with Via Rail Canada. It was extended for a period of 5 years beginning in September 1st, 2023. So that lease agreement is, of course, for the east half of the building. It's the passenger waiting room. That waiting room is climate controlled. It also has a public washroom. So the town has recently invested in capital upgrades to the train station. We added door access control, brand new intrusion alarm system, and a new surveillance system. That was based on the number of break-ins and vandalism that was happening there. Right now, the Via Rail waiting room is currently operating in sequence with the train schedule. So the new door access control system allows the doors to automatically open an hour before each train is scheduled to stop, and then they remain open till about 45 minutes after the train has departed. This allows people that are waiting for the train or getting off the train to go inside, use the washroom if it's cold out, wait in a heated area. But the train only stops the Napanee station if a ticket is purchased. So sometimes, the doors might automatically unlock or lock, but the train's not actually stopping. So that's the only problem with that solution. But now we have a solution where the doors are opening and closing because the intended purpose of that waiting room is for those train passengers. While no significant damage has occurred since the renovation, staff are seeing an increased presence of unhoused individuals using the train station for matters unrelated to its intended purpose. So this has created safety concerns, not only for the public and the passengers, but also for staff that are working in the building doing the cleaning. Many train passengers that I've heard from over the years, they give feedback that they actually just wait in their car because they don't actually feel safe going in there because they're not sure what they might encounter from past experience. So that's certainly concerning. As recent as Thursday, September 4th, one of my staff members that was there to complete routine cleaning tasks was verbally assaulted by an unhoused individual. Thankfully, the staff member was able to call the OPP before the altercation could turn physical. This recent dangerous encounter has forced staff to sort of reevaluate regular operations just to ensure that those tasks can be completed safely. So what we're doing now is we're not sending anyone there alone, but that does have operational implications. And so we're cleaning less days of the week, and we're sending multiple people during those times because of that. So what staff are requesting simply is just permission from council to engage in the conversation with Via Rail, just to see what alternative options are out there for us. We want to make sure the train is stopping in Napanee, but we also want to ensure that we maintain our asset in that heritage building and that it doesn't get further damage. It's become more, especially in the winter months that are coming, it's becoming more of a shelter and a place for illegal drug use than it is for the train passengers. So just wanted to bring this to your attention. Happy to answer any other questions, but simply we just want to re-engage with Via Rail just to see what other options might be out there. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Chris. Deputy Mayor Cower.
Thank you, through your worship. So Chris, with today's technology, with these tickets, could we not put in like a scanner or a QR scanner, so when you have your train ticket, you can go up and scan it and the door would open versus have it automatically opening or unlocking?
Through your worship, I can look into that option. I'll definitely consult with our IT manager on those types of things, but it's certainly possible, and I can look into that.
Yeah, because I mean, that would alleviate, because right now you're saying that, it unlocks an hour before the train stops, providing somebody's bought a ticket. But in that hour, like you say, there's a lot of things can go, especially if somebody's already waiting around, waiting to hear that click. But if we had a scanner that would scan the ticket and allow people to then enter, it wouldn't need to unlock an hour before, it would unlock at that very moment. Just a question. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Deputy Mayor Calvert. Is there any other questions or comments for Chris? Go ahead, Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, through you, your worship. Yeah, this is, I was a little concerned when I read about the altercation. Are they okay? Because that could be very scary for someone.
Yeah, through your worship, certainly, I would say no, they weren't okay. Very scary situation. Could have been a lot worse. And that's why just bringing this to your attention. Want to make sure everyone's very aware, taking this very seriously, and trying to come up with solutions so that we make sure the staff are safe and the public.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my follow-up, Chris, and I haven't taken the train in years, but are there set times, like is it one morning train that will stop and one evening train that will stop, so we know the precise times? Would it be within our rights, I guess, to ask someone from the detachment to maybe do a drive-by and make their presence known early in the morning, in the evening, just to scope it out?
Go ahead, Mr. Grant.
Through your worship, to Councillor Hicks, I don't know that that's something we could count on with any certainty. Police officers respond to any number of things in the community. I think they would see that more as a security guard function. And if we wanted to do that, that would be the service we'd have to provide. I think one of the reasons, and I spoke with Mr. Brown after this incident, and we agreed that bringing this forward would be a good idea, is we have an unpersoned facility meant for public access, and we don't really have many of those. We don't really have many of those for a reason. I really strongly believe that, seeing what other train stations along the line have done, whether it be a bus shelter or something else, the building hasn't been used for its intended purpose for a while. We're having sort of issues with it. We may decide that in those conversations, we could find an alternative and use the whole building for a community purpose, and we may not. But I think that it's worth exploring, and I would just suggest that, given a near miss, I think we're obligated to look for solutions, and that's why we brought it forward.
Yep, go ahead.
So for me, thank you, your worship. I'm going to ask about the people that are now going to be using the other half of the train station. They're not going to be there early in the morning, but they will be there in the evening. Typically, if the lights are on and there's somebody home and you're not maybe going to get that happening in the evening, but they need to be made aware of what's been going on the other side of the building, and maybe taking some precautions of their own. Like, once the person that opens the building is in the building, nobody else gets in until the door is open from the inside. I'm just so that you don't have random people walking in. I don't think that would be good. Just a thought.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Councillor Hicks. Is there anything else? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation the council receive for information Parks, Recreation and Culture Train Station Waiting Room Report, and further that the council direct staff to engage in conversation with Via Rail Canada Inc. to discuss alternative solutions to existing operations for the waiting room for train passengers. Moved by Councillor Norrie, seconded by Deputy Mayor Calver. Is there any further comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, thanks, Chris, for bringing this to us. I know that you're going to find a solution, and unfortunately, we're living in a world where we can't leave unpersoned facilities out there anymore. That's just the reality of today's world, which is really very disappointing, but that's where we're at. So anyway, sorry, rambled on. All in favor of the motions on the floor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Bylaws. Bylaw number 2025-0061 to amend Schedule B of the Compensation Bylaw 2024-0047. Look for a motion to put it on the floor. Moved by Councillor Hicks, second by Councillor Shank. Ready first, second, and finally passed. This 9th day of September 2025. All in favor of the motions on the floor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Information reports for members. Is there any information reports for members this evening? Inquiries. Do any members of council have any inquiries? Seeing none. Notices of motion. I believe Councillor Hicks may have a notice to motion, or is it a motion? I think. Go ahead, Councillor Hicks. Then I'll go back to Councillor Shank. I think you've got. You probably have an inquiry, or do you have a motion, Mike? Okay, we'll we'll add Ange. She's got it written out here. So go ahead, Ange.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, so my recommendation is that council direct staff to refer the traffic safety concerns on County Road 8 in the school zone for Southview Public School and County Road 41 from Advance Ave to Bridge Street to the Technical Advisory Committee for analysis and report back to council in order to inform a future request to the County of Lennox and Addington to implement community safety zones at those locations. And further, that council requests that the Technical Advisory Committee review the criteria for establishing a community safety zone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks. And you're going to make that by way of motion?
I do. Thank you.
And I'll look for a second there, and then I'm going to look, see if you want to make a friendly amendment. Seconded by Councillor Shank. Did you want them to also consider Selby Public School, which is on 41 Highway?
That would be, that, yes, absolutely. I would definitely like to add that in. That's a very good point. Thank you, Your Worship.
I'd like to take credit for it, but I can't because I ran into somebody else that suggested it to me, so I can't take credit for it. So.
And thank them for me because this is really, the first day of school, I witnessed 6 rolling stops in a row at the stop sign on Golf Course Lane. 6 rolling stops.
So you would like to include the Selby Public School located on 41 Highway?
Yes, I would.
Madam Clerk?
Thank you.
And the seconder will take that friendly amendment. And Madam Clerk, do you have what you need? Okay. Is there any comments, questions, or concerns with respect to the motion that's on the floor? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion that's on the floor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Councillor Shank, I believe you would like to either make a motion or notice motion.
This is a notice. I'd love to make a motion and have it discussed tonight, but maybe Jessica might get very angry with me. So if she allows me to go ahead and make that motion tonight and the mayor does, then I would love to make the motion. But you want to hear it first?
Yeah, let's hear it, Mike. It may be better off to go by way of notice the motion, but let's have a listen to it.
Let's have a listen. So past the municipal dump at South Fred, or we used to call it South Fred dump, the municipal dump, Great Town of Greater Napanee on Road 1. When you head north, you're going into Peckerell Park in a populated area. I've had numerous residents go ahead and they say they would like to go ahead because on a municipal road that's 80, all right, coming to a stop with the amount of park and amount of people walking, all right, and the amount of animals and everything else on that, before you go into that blind corner down the hill, if they could go ahead and put a 60-kilometer sign on it just before, before you go into that populated area. So that's all I would like is a 60-kilometer sign. If we could do that now, I greatly appreciate it. And that's it.
I think that's probably going to be a little more complicated than we can do right now. But Madam Clerk, I know you can probably. This is your bailiwick, so go ahead.
So through your worship, under the procedural bylaw, if a councillor gives verbal notice during the meeting, then their motion gets printed. The normal process is their motion gets printed on the next agenda and council votes on it, as council just did with Councillor Hicks' motion. The alternate option, let me just double check.
Jessica, if I get 2/3 to agree with me, could we do that
And-
tonight then?
And,
Yeah,
and I think what we need to consider is by change, I don't think we can just change speed limits.
No, so through your worship, there would need to be a bylaw amendment in order to change the speed limit. So it would be a motion to give direction to staff to develop that bylaw and bring it forward. It's not a motion tonight and then a sign goes up tomorrow. There's still a process that would need to be followed. But we would need 2/3 majority support to consider this matter tonight. Then a motion to direct staff to bring forward that bylaw to change the speed limit, possibly a report on speed. There is council has previously in 2014 adopted a policy regarding how citizens can petition for speed limits to be reduced. I would need to check in against that bylaw to see if there's any. Council generally has the ability to act outside its own bylaws with council approval. Just need to look into that as well.
Yeah, go, Mike.
So there's another alternative. I could take my electric pounder, go ahead and drive a post in the ground, put a sign on it. But I don't want to take 3 months. But so I would implore council to go ahead and agree with my motion tonight. So the next council meeting, they can bring a bylaw in place to go ahead, so we can go ahead and have the appropriate time and then put a 60-kilometer-an-hour sign in that area. Is that okay, Mr. Mayor?
I mean, council can do what they want, but what I would suggest is you do it by way of motion, which means well, probably next week, because we're going to be back here next Tuesday, Madam Clerk. And does that give you enough time to clean up? You're not here next week?
Is the next
special
Tuesday's
session.
a special session during the daytime? Yeah, I'd love nothing better too. I'm gonna try, but
Well, we can
I'm in
bring it back
harvest.
in 2 weeks, and that'll give Madam Clerk the opportunity to clean up whatever needs to be cleaned up. I mean, it's just a matter of 2 weeks, you know what I mean? So I think that would be the best option. Now, I mean, I'll leave it up to council how they want to deal with it, but I think the best option is do it by way of notice to motion in 2 weeks, and that gives Madam Clerk the opportunity to make sure we're doing it all right.
I know it's not Christmas time, but is there any way we can go ahead and put a bylaw also on that agenda? So if one gets passed, we can do the bylaw at the same night? Not that I have to wait another 2 weeks and now we're another month, you know what I mean? And then another 2 weeks for appeal period or whatever. Is that possible, Jessica?
Through your worship, generally as staff, we try not to assume what the will of council will be before council has actually made a motion on a matter.
You know what? It's only a 60-kilometer sign, guys. It shouldn't be a hot topic, but as long as it's done legal and it's transparent and it's done the correct way. So that's my notice of motion. But Jessica, when you do your legal and checking it out, if you could, when you have the notice of motion, if you could go ahead and have a bylaw possibly that we could go ahead and do that the same night. It's just that, there are some safety concerns there. So people have some legitimate concerns with that. So I just like to have it done today rather than yesterday. But I understand the process. We have to follow the process. But if we can get it done, then I'd be happy.
I think very graciously, Mike, thanks for doing it that way. I trying to help Madam Clerk out as best I can, because I know I aggravate her life as more than probably anybody does. So, Madam Clerk, do you have what you need with respect to the notice to motion?
Through your worship, yes, I do. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks. Thanks, Mike. Is there anything else? Okay, new business. Is there any new business anyone would like to discuss? Seeing none. Announcements. Would anyone like to make any announcements? Councillor Hicks.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would just like to remind everyone that coming up on September 20th is our Cars and Guitars event that's being put on by Greater Napanee Connect. So it looks like a good time. And I heard one of the bands on Saturday when I was at the plaquing ceremony, full English. did a great job. I was able to dance because I was holding a baby, so that's the only way you can get away with dancing in public. And also that day, the market is going on in the Market Square. And I'm going to give the microphone to Mr. Nouri, Councillor Nouri, because I believe Arts and Culture has something going on in Conservation Park that day as well, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot going on. Stay in town and enjoy the day.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks. Yeah, actually, it's going to be at the John Street side of Town Hall, entertainment. They were going to put out more arts things, and they're going to request the mayor when he does his speech to mention it, so people will see what we're doing. But yeah, we had a meeting last night. Michelle Dory Forrester is organizing a lot for all sorts of different types of art, but not to interfere with the cars. So we'll be there too, and it's going to be a good time.
Perfect. I love those things. They really are a lot of fun. So thanks, and thanks, Bob. Is there anything else? Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, through your worship. I just wanted to say thank you to all of the Napanee Express teams. Our ball teams this year did absolutely phenomenal from one end of the country to the other. We got an amazing ball program going here, and I'd like to congratulate Chris and his guys at keeping the ball fields in extremely amazing tip-top shape. If nobody got a chance to go up and see the games and see the quality and care that goes into the fields, and the work our guys do it's just second to none. And spending quite a bit of time up at the ball field, that's all I heard from players and people from all around, how, you know, the quality and good shape our fields are in. And for that, I want to say thank you to our staff as well.
Great. Thanks, Deputy Mayor Calvert. Is there anything else? Seeing none. CAO's remarks, Mr. Grant.
Nothing for me today, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Hey, the forward calendar. Is there anything on the forward calendar anyone would like to talk about, or the resolution tracker? Seeing none, look for a motion to confirm for a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Council Corporation of Town of Greater Napanee. Moved by Councillor Shank, seconded by Councillor Hicks. Ready first, second, and finally passed this 9th day of September 2025. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. And motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Calvert. No further comments, questions, or concerns. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks, folks. We'll see you next week for a fairly lengthy special session of council. So thanks.